It was one of those winter days when the snow just wouldn't stop falling. Thick, heavy flakes blanketed everything in sight, and the air was so cold it seemed to freeze your breath mid-sentence. David, a man who lived on the edge of the woods, had been watching the storm from the warmth of his living room, a cup of coffee cradled in his hands. He thought it would just be another quiet day spent indoors. But fate had other plans. As David glanced toward the door, something caught his eye. At first, he thought it was just the snow piling up against the porch. But as he leaned in closer, he realized it was something much more heartbreaking. There, just outside his door, stood a German shepherd, her fur thick with snow, shivering violently. Nestled against her were two tiny pups, curled up tightly against her side, their small bodies trembling from the cold. David froze for a moment, not because of the cold, but because he didn't know what to do. His heart raced. His mind ran through all the possible reasons why they might be out there, exposed to such brutal weather. Were they abandoned? Lost? Had they been trying to find shelter? The German shepherd lifted her head slowly and met his gaze through the frosted glass, her eyes full of a quiet desperation that cut straight to his soul. Opening the door seemed like such a simple thing to do, but it wasn't. David knew he had no idea if the dog was aggressive or if she might see him as a threat. And yet, could he really just stand there and watch them freeze? His instincts battled his fear for a few more seconds before compassion won out. Without thinking any longer, he placed his coffee down, walked to the door, and slowly cracked it open. The cold hit him like a wall. The German shepherd didn't move, didn't growl, didn't bark. She simply stared, exhausted and defeated. David crouched down, speaking softly, letting the mother dog know he meant no harm. "Hey girl, it's okay, you're safe now," he murmured, his breath visible in the freezing air. Slowly, step by step, the mother dog nudged the pups closer to the door, as if understanding that this man was their only chance. David backed up to give them space, holding the door wide open. The German shepherd finally gathered all the strength she had left and ushered the pups inside. They stumbled in, tiny legs wobbly, and collapsed onto the warm floor. David quickly closed the door, locking out the biting cold. He rushed to grab some old towels, wrapping the pups up carefully and setting a blanket down for their mother. He didn't have much in the house, but he managed to find some leftover chicken and a bowl of water. The mother dog ate hungrily, but kept glancing at her babies, checking on them between every few bites. As the evening wore on, David sat on the floor next to them, watching in awe. He couldn't believe how much trust the dog had shown him, a total stranger. She had been willing to risk everything, not for herself, but for her pups. It was a kind of selfless love that left David speechless. He decided he couldn't just let them go back out there. That night, he made up a bed by the fireplace, using every spare blanket he could find. The mother curled up around her pups, finally able to relax for the first time in who knows how long. David sat nearby, just to make sure they felt safe. The next morning, he called the local animal rescue, explaining everything that had happened. They told him it was rare for a German shepherd to survive out in weather like that with pups. Whoever she was clearly a fighter. They sent a team over to check the dog's health, and David stayed by their side the whole time. It turned out the pups were just a few weeks old, barely old enough to survive on their own. Thanks to David's quick decision to open the door, they were going to be okay. The rescue team promised to help find them a forever home, but David already knew in his heart he couldn't let them go. He had found something precious that night, something he hadn't even known he was missing. Days turned into weeks, and the bond between David and his new little family only grew stronger. The mother dog, whom he named Grace, seemed to know she was finally home. The pups, full of energy and mischief, filled the house with a kind of warmth that no fireplace could ever match. Sometimes late at night, David would sit by the window, watching the snow fall, and think back to that moment, the one where he stood frozen at the door, unsure of what to do. A moment that could have gone either way. And he was thankful every single day that he had made the choice to open the door. Because sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change not just a life, but 3 of them.